So we'll move right into the X factors because my X factor is Linval Joseph. Linval Joseph obviously lines up as the nose tackle more often than not for the Chargers. And he's clearly not the same player that he once was, but you see glimpses of it, right? Like Brandon Thorne posted a video of it. You know, there was another video that I posted today where you see just how explosive he is at shedding blocks, getting into the backfield. There was that one holding call on Uchenna Nwosu after I think it was Jarrett Patterson had a good run that got called back. That was Linval Joseph blowing up the play and forcing Jarrett Patterson to bounce outside. So I'm not fully confident in Tyler Biadasz as a center. He didn't really show much last week. Kind of got dominated. Of course, it was Vita Vea. Like Vita Vea is freaking amazing. But Linval Joseph, if he's able to get, a couple pressures here and there and maybe get a sack. We didn't see him have a sack last season, so I'm waiting for the big guy sack dance this year. So Linval Joseph is my X factor for this game.
I'm going to build off that and actually say that Jerry Tillery is my X factor. I just sort of think we need to see it. And because of the state of the Dallas offensive line, you're going to have Joey Bosa, who's going to be, able to kind of, I think, take care of those tackles and, they'll be able to do well at edge. I think it's just going to be how they sort of maximize their interior rush. Especially if Justin Jones isn't playing. Obviously, it's still cramps. We'll wait and see. But because Linval's sort of older and, I just don't trust Eric Banks, obviously. I think this game really comes down to potentially kind of Covington and Jerry Tillery when it comes to that interior pass rush. And, I think Covington is much more your run stuffer guy, although he will get after the passer. Jerry Tillery is the guy that we've seen glimpses from for as much shit as we give him all the time. He's had the Chiefs game. He's had those other games where he could have a sack and 5 QB hits, right? So I just really want to see kind of a consistent through the game effort. And I think that he's the X factor for that reason because, Zeke Elliott is not going to be coming out to block, Jerry Tillery. He's going to be focused in on Joey Bosa and some of the other guys there. So I think Jerry Tillery kind of getting through that offensive line and being able to maybe get that occasional pressure or just kind of drag Dak Prescott down. Like those are the kind of plays I think we'll need on this one. So for me, it's just, if we can get at least maybe, let's say, 2 pressures and a QB hit, I think that would be a huge kind of bounce back week for Jerry Tillery. So I think he's the X factor just because of the health status of the interior offensive line, or the interior defensive line, I should say, and its age.
Yeah, I hope he does well this week. Again, I'd love to go in a different direction, start a new narrative with him that he's an ace-ending player who looks great. So I'd love for either of these guys to play well. My X factor is going to be Jalen Guyton, and I'm actually going to pick a player that is hopefully going to be active this game. Last week, I went a little too X factor with Trey McKitty, and he didn't even end up suiting up. So Jalen Guyton, I'm fairly confident he's going to play this time. I did not realize that Dan Quinn was still the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys because I believe he was last year too, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he was the head coach of the Falcons last year.
Wow, he must have been really bad then. So anyway, I forgot he was the defensive coordinator this year. And Jalen Guyton, to me, if they're running that same Seattle cover 3, which I assume that they are, him either along the seams, potentially being covered by some poor linebacker, that stinks for the defense. But you could also work him in the flat because you saw Guyton targeted in the flat against the Washington football team pretty early on. I don't remember if it was I think it's like a pre-snap motion, and then it was sort of like a swing sort of pass. So you can use, motion to free him up, or you can run him from the slot, whatever you want to do with him. Plenty of things you can do with Guyton. And I do think, in general, Keenan Allen's going to feast anyway against the slot corner. Mike Williams, I don't know. The Cowboys don't have great corners as is, so you can feast no matter what. But someone like Guyton who can work in the flat, who can work at the seams, which is the cover 3 defense is not going to be good against, I think he is the X factor for this game. And despite the fact that he had that one ball bounce off his helmet, and the other one was kind of a hospital ball that he didn't catch, he did make enough plays where you can still have that trust in him. That, that great sort of back shoulder fade catch, the one catch that he had where he broke multiple tackles and ran down the sideline. You can trust him to make plays. So I think they should lean on him again. I know that all the attention's on Allen and Williams, and deservedly so, but I think Guyton is your X factor here because he can really attack this defense specifically.
Yeah, so everything that we've heard, it seems like Dan Quinn is running mostly cover three, concepts. There was that play that, a lot of people were like making fun of Micah Parsons because he had to like come up and attack the run and then float back and he kind of looked lost. That's kind of just like his responsibility on the play. It just like wasn't pretty. Right. So they do kind of mix it up. Dan Quinn is much more aggressive than Gus Bradley, who ran 2 blitzes against the Ravens on Monday night. So Dan Quinn's not.
Did one work blitz. Or both work?
They both work. Both of them ended up in pressures or a sack. Like it's remarkable. Like I said this last year. Like every time that Gus Bradley called a blitz last year, it freaking worked. It just they never did it. So Dan Quinn is much more aggressive than Bradley. There is some cover 2 looks in there, and there is some man blitzes in there. So they mix it up a little bit more. But it is primarily like the cover 3. So Jalen Guyton definitely deserves a shout out. He was really, really good last game, and particularly as like a run blocker, I was really surprised at how physical he was in that department. And I think Trayvon Diggs is probably going to get Mike Williams. I think because Diggs is kind of the most physical corner that they have, and he's not a slot guy. Like I think he would get cooked by Keenan Allen, but I think he could handle Mike Williams kind of relatively well.